What should be a moment of celebration after a season-opening win has been clouded by a wave of injuries, lineup concerns, and uncertainty heading into Monday night's showdown with the Chargers. Instead of excitement, the conversation has turned to anxiety, as if every positive step forward has been met with a setback pulling this team right back. It started with the biggest name of all. Brock Bowers, the breakout star from Week 1, left the game against New England with what initially seemed like a minor knee injury. Reports after the game were optimistic, saying that if it had been absolutely necessary, he could have returned. But that optimism faded quickly. By Thursday, he was in the locker room with a full compression sleeve on his leg. When asked about his status for Monday night, his response was far from reassuring. "We'll see. I'm hoping to play. Hoping. Not certain. Not confident." And for a player who just posted over 100 receiving yards on only 5 catches in his debut, his absence, or even a limited version of him, changes the very DNA of this offense.
He isn't just a tight end.
He's the matchup nightmare that forces safeties to stay back, that opens rushing lanes for Ashton Gentry, and that allows Geno Smith to run Chip Kelly's scheme to perfection. Without him, everything shifts. The bad news didn't stop there. Linebacker Alendon Roberts, the veteran voice in the middle of the defense, left the Patriots game with an elbow injury after only 11 snaps. By Friday, he was only able to log a very limited practice session. Realistically, it would be surprising if he suits up on Monday. Devin White stepped up against New England with 11 tackles and a performance that reminded everyone of his LSU days, flying across the field with speed and aggression. But Roberts is the glue. He's the communicator, the stabilizer, the one who makes sure everyone else is lined up and ready. Facing Justin Herbert without him? That's not just a test. That's a nightmare scenario. And as if losing your top weapon on offense and your defensive leader wasn't enough, now comes the gut punch on the offensive line. Jackson Powers-Johnson, the center, is banged up and questionable. This isn't a player you can just slide out and replace. He's the one making protection calls, identifying blitzes, and anchoring the interior against defensive fronts designed to overwhelm. If he can't play, it isn't just one substitution. It's a reshuffling of the entire offensive line. That could mean moving Meredith inside, adjusting Kappa, and suddenly a unit already tested in Week 1 finds itself thrown into chaos. Against a defense like the Chargers, where one misread protection call can leave Geno Smith staring at a free rusher, that chaos could flip the outcome of the game in a heartbeat. So what happens if Bowers can't go? Or if he's limited to 70 or 80% playing on a pitch count? This is where the Raiders need to show their depth and adaptability. Michael Mayer, nicknamed Big Mike, suddenly becomes the focal point. He's been patient, waiting for his moment. In college, he was the nation's top tight end prospect, the kind of player who dominated with his blocking and physicality. When Bowers emerged at Georgia, he stole the spotlight, but Mayer's talent never disappeared. Now, with Bowers hobbled, this is Mayer's chance to step out of the shadows. He may not be the dynamic mismatch Bowers is, but he can block, he can rumble after the catch, and he can give this offense the stability it needs. Ian Thomas would step into Mayer's usual blocking-heavy role, keeping the Raiders in their preferred 12 personnel look that's so vital to their run game and play-action success. The rest of the receiving core would also have to elevate. Jacoby Myers remains the steady WR1, the reliable option who moves the chains and keeps drives alive. Dante Thornton Jr., with his 6'5 frame and verified 4.3 speed, is the deep threat waiting for the right matchup. Trey Tucker adds the gadget element, shifting in motion before the snap to create mismatches and force defenses to reveal coverages. Even rookie Jack Beck could see an expanded role, with his size and skill set giving Chip Kelly another chess piece to play with in Bowers' absence. And then there's Ashton Gentry. His debut was underwhelming, but the conditions in Foxborough didn't do him any favors. Rain, slick turf, and a defense determined to stack the box meant he never really had a chance to showcase his speed. Indoors on Monday night, the stage is set for him to break out. The Chargers' run defense is largely untested after Kansas City barely tried to run against them in Week 1, with Patrick Mahomes ending up as their leading rusher. That won't be the case this week. If Gentry can establish himself early, it changes everything. It takes pressure off Geno, keeps the pass rush in check, and sets up the play-action game that Kelly thrives on. Expect to see him heavily involved, not just on the ground, but in the passing game with screens, swing passes, and designed plays to get him into space. But the offensive line remains the tipping point. Without JPJ, the Raiders have to simplify. That could mean more quick passes to neutralize the Chargers' edge rushers, more motion to help Geno identify coverages pre-snap, and even max protection looks with Mayer and Thomas staying in to block. It may not be flashy, but survival up front is the only way the Raiders give themselves a chance. Defensively, the challenge skyrockets from last week. The Patriots' rookie quarterback in rainy conditions was no real test. Justin Herbert and the Chargers' arsenal of receivers are another story entirely. Keenan Allen remains one of the league's best technicians. Rookie Ladd McConkey is already becoming a reliable weapon, and Quentin Johnston looms as the big play threat that stretches defenses vertically. Without Roberts, the linebackers will be stretched thin, forced to cover in space and handle backs out of the backfield while still managing their run fits. Devin White must not only play fast, but now step into the leadership void. That's a heavy load, especially against an opponent that knows exactly how to exploit weaknesses. The pass rush has to be the difference maker. If Herbert has 3.5 seconds or more, the secondary won't hold up. Max Crosby versus Joe Alt is the matchup that could decide the night. Crosby is fueled by emotion and pride, and after the offseason chatter that Alt had his number, you can bet Max has this one circled in red. He needs to win early, disrupt Herbert's rhythm, and maybe force the kind of turnover that flips the momentum. Because if he's neutralized, the young and inconsistent secondary becomes exposed. Darnay Holmes has struggled, and rookie Kalen Blue Kelly is still finding his footing. There's even been talk of reaching outside for veteran help, with Stephon Gilmore's name floating as a potential addition to stabilize the group. That's how dire the secondary concerns feel heading into this game. Still, the Chargers aren't without their own issues. Their defense is banged up too. Denzel Perryman and Delshon Phillips both missed practice. Elijah Molden is limited. Their second level is vulnerable, and that's where the Raiders can attack if the offensive line holds. And then there's that delicious matchup, Dante Thornton Jr., the towering rookie with track speed against a slower Chargers corner. If Geno has the time to set his feet, that's a big play waiting to happen. This isn't just week 2. This is a statement game. A chance to prove that week 1 wasn't a fluke, that this team can overcome adversity and punch a rival in the mouth under the national spotlight. A win would put the Raiders at 2-0, solidify them as legitimate contenders, and silence the doubters. A close loss would still leave them in the playoff conversation, but underline areas to fix. But a blowout defeat? That would raise real questions about the offensive line, the secondary, and even the coaching staff. The Raiders have waited years for a moment like this. An early season chance to grab momentum and prove to the league that they're not just rebuilding, they're rising. Monday night in Allegiant Stadium under the lights, with Raider Nation in full blackout mode, the truth about this team will be revealed.